So you've developed a system that has both automation, data-driven decision-making, as well as people.
Yes.
Which was the basis of Yahoo at the very beginning. I remember when the ontologists were in place, and then they just stopped scaling because you just couldn't have people making all the decisions you needed to support the
technology.
Right. Now, it strikes me that that approach to content is not dissimilar to the approach that the entire advertising ecosystem has been taking for many years to figuring out, cooking a person, creating a behavioral and contextual sort of cloud of data around that person, trying to figure out the right ad to put in front of them, which is a business that you're deeply in, and it's a very competitive business. Is that a fair analogy to how you look at serving up content, and might that go across the web outside of Yahoo as well?
I think it does go across the web. Anybody that's publishing, you publish, offline publishing wants to put the right information in front of their readers. The difference is, the two of us being 24/7 have to do it fast, we have to do it correctly, and so forth. People all over the web want to do that, but that's a lot of technology, John. I mean, you're a technologist, you understand that. And so you'll reach a point as a mid-sized website or a small website where you just can't scale if you don't have the science. And so one of the reasons that we're interested, another thing we're interested in, is helping the ecosystem. Right now we have the largest ad network. We serve up, about 18 billion ads a day that we're referencing, serving up for not only owned and operated, but for our affiliates.
Right.
That's a lot of technology. And the interesting thing is people want to judge Yahoo. They want to look at a page and say, well, that anybody could, put that page together. It's deciding what goes on that page, having not only our own editorial content, but crowdsourced content, aggregated content, and just interesting everything. That's science. And that doesn't scale with most companies.
So
they're not in that business.
If I carry that forward, does that mean that you will be exporting a service that others can use that will help them take their content corpus and serve it up in a sort of a layer above their CMS, so to speak, that allows them to do what you do on your homepage?
We already, by the way, do through the exchange.
Well, the exchange is just advertising. I'm talking about content.
Yes, we're also looking at helping people manage their content, helping them, if you will, manage their whole ecosystem. How do they want to manage their? These people crawling around, boy.
I'll take pictures of you, Carol.
And the Yahoo 15. Anyway,
that's like the Google 10, but do you have better cafeterias? Never
well,
mind.
of course we do. It is really about, we think that through an ecosystem publishing partnership, we can help people not only with ad optimization, but with their content optimization.
Is this a product now?
No.
But it's something to consider.
Right.
Because it's a core competency that takes a lot of science and can be explored as a service.
Very core
So you're not announcing content sense, but
content sense.
I've actually written about content sense, so that was a term that I made up.
Somebody else uses that too.
I can imagine there's another sense out there.
Yeah.
Actually, let's talk about that other one, Google. I'm curious your view of Google as a company in the ecosystem. You said to me when we spoke last that one of the great challenges of Google was that they had to grow a Yahoo a year. In other words, they are so large now, almost 200 billion in market cap, almost 10x your market cap. That creates a different environment. Is that an environment you aspire to?
Well, of course. I mean, who wouldn't aspire to be Google? But that's not the environment we're in. We're not a Google, we're a Yahoo. And they're a fantastic company. And I think one of the most important things I did the first year, we did as a management team, is to explain to people, we're not Google, we are Yahoo. So there's a constant comparison.
Is that part of the search decision was you were very much compared to Google because you were considered to be sort of mortal rivals in search?
Yes, but that wasn't why we made the decision. We made the decision because technically and financially it was the smartest thing to do. But it did help the other problem, which is to say, Google is this company and Yahoo is this company. And we know what we stand for. And in fact, it's interesting, John, when you get 30 miles outside of Silicon Valley and say 60 miles outside of New York City, everybody knows what we stand for. It's so much fun to travel. I was in India last week and London the week before, and they go, Yahoo! I mean, it's like, they're not confused. They don't ask these trick questions like, what is that? They actually know.
Well, I don't know that that's a trick question.
Well, it must be, because everybody thinks that somehow you're, you don't know, so that's kind of a first thing to ask. I never asked that outside the country, or in Iowa.
I want to ask you about Yahoo's approach to social. So you mentioned how you wanted to sort of take these content pages, make them more engaging, use the science that you have, and I've met with Prabhakar. It is impressive that the science is. The science is impressive of how you determine this stuff. I'm interested in how you then make that stuff come alive in the dimension of social. You have deeply integrated Facebook, and you have recently announced integrations with Zynga and Twitter. That's a strategy, is it not? To say, we're not going to try to do our own, we're going to work with all the others. Or are you reserving the right to at some point create a Yahoo social graph? Perhaps through mail, perhaps through understanding those user journeys and connecting other people with similar user journeys through your content?
Social is a word that's been around for a long, long time. We've been social, the cavemen is social, I think the Elizabethans were social, and so the idea that social exists in only one place on the internet or just a couple places, social is about human interaction. And there's different kinds of human interaction. There's the kind that Facebook does, which is a fantastic thing. But human interaction is also email and messenger, as I said, interactive ads, interactive websites. People just want, they might not sit in front of a newspaper if they're going to sit in front of a static screen. And so there's all kinds of ways to be social. You mentioned games, you mentioned commenting, Twitter, exactly. We're not trying to copy anybody. We're trying to enhance the user experience on Yahoo in a Yahoo fashion, which is, listen, if we, think about this for a minute, John, if we aggregate for people great content, we should also aggregate the experiences they have around the web so that it's in one place for them. Not that they're not going to go someplace, but it's an and proposition. They don't go to Facebook or Yahoo, they go to Facebook and Yahoo. They don't go to Google or Yahoo, they go to Google and Yahoo. You can look at the metrics and see that.
Now, one of the things that Facebook is doing, we're talking to Mark in a couple of hours, that strikes me as a clear way for point of control, is to integrate Facebook Open Graph across the web, such that the sort of default, rider on my left shoulder as I cruise around the web is my Facebook social graph, my Facebook, let's call it identity.
Right.
Do you have designs on having maybe someone on my right shoulder who is my Yahoo identity?
Well, there's already 630.
Maybe Yahoo Connect or something like that?
Well, there's already 630 million people and still growing that have the Yahoo identity. One of the things that the company...
But they don't bring it with them on the web.
Right. One of the things the company should have done a long time ago is accept anybody's login.
Right.
And have 100% login on our pages, not just mail. And that means accepting Facebook login, Google login, whatever it might be. And so that just allows us to play in the ecosystem and also to make life easier for our users. And easier in that they come onto the site and we know enough again to give them a great experience. So I think Facebook is very, very clever in the identity on the left shoulder. But that isn't exclusively their purview. The rest of us have also identities on the people that use us, and that's just increasing because usage on the web is increasing.
But currently there is, I mean, as we've discussed, there's so much that you know about somebody because of the content journeys they take on your owned and operated properties, and because of the knowledge that you have as they cruise the rest of the web and encounter your ad networking properties, and what they tell you as they become a Yahoo user and register, and their mail use, and. It strikes me you could create a thing, which is my Yahoo value-added identity, that I can exchange as a token anywhere I go on the web, and it changes how I interact with the web. Is that something you considered?
We could do that. Right now, a bigger priority for us, John, we have so much data, but it has been siloed in sports and siloed in finance and siloed, just the way the company was. The properties were considered very independent, very special, and unfortunately that meant the data was very independent, very special.
And your infrastructure was very independent.
Exactly. And so for us to even get our own data in the grid, in the cloud, so that we can use it very quickly means that that's one of the first things we do. We can worry about, and of course, cookies going all over the place, but we can worry about the steps you're talking about when we get our own data house in order, which is coming soon. I had a great mail today from my UK office. We announced global news with content on the grid with one publisher tool for the world.
Right.
First code base ever for the world.
I don't think people understand when you came in how significant the legacy baggage of how Yahoo was built was, and that you had to re-engineer that. And it's all that stuff underneath that we don't see.
Yes, I mean, it literally, I use several metaphors, but we're traveling up 101 at 100 miles an hour changing the tires.
Right. We've heard that one.
Yeah. But this was my point I was going to make. I got the first indication from the UK office today that they actually, because of this consistent content in the grid for news all over the world, they actually were able to pull down like 24-hour round the clock while they were asleep. The American editors were helping their pages. That's never happened in this country. So
I think people just assume that kind of stuff was done.
yes. And you would assume that, because actually they were doing a great job. They just weren't sharing anything,
right,
which made inefficiencies and duplication and all that. And it wasn't sitting here in the U.S. It was even less obvious. As soon as you went to the rest of the world, they were really on their own.
Please come to the microphone because the time is going far too quickly. I wanted to ask you about talent. There's been a lot of steam vented about people leaving Yahoo, or maybe perhaps being shown the door. I won't ask which is which, but a lot of senior managers have left, a lot have come. And we have, it strikes me, quite a war for talent going on. Everybody, I mean, Robin Lee told me he was looking to hire engineers to bring back to China. Why would an engineer, and Google just gave everybody a 10% raise. Are you going to do that?
No.
You heard that, Yahoo. Sorry, no raise. I tried.
Actually, John, it's 15.
It's 15.
Not really.
Why does a talented engineer come to Yahoo as opposed to going to Facebook with its pre-IPO stock, or Groupon, or Twitter, or Google?
I've been in this valley since 1983. And, number 100 employee at Sun, and on Cisco's board when they were 400 million. I watched this talent race in this 60-mile circle for 27 years. First of all, you can never beat an IPO if you're given a really interesting job. People really want to make a difference. Engineers want to make a difference. They want to be able to come in and not be just one of 15,000 smart kids.